So, the movie Rings came out last week, and apparently if you watch the tape from Rings, you'll die in 7 days.
Turns out that tape was an early pirate copy of 50 Shades Darker.
Have dinner with me.
Okay, fine. I will have dinner with you. Because I'm hungry.
That's no moon.
Okay, so we just got back from a screening of 50 Shades Darker. We saw the very first screening in our local Cineworld, so how lucky are we?
It was fucking 11 AM.
11 AM, we got up early
packed.
to see this movie. It was packed, women and couples, and then there's me and Dale, two lads, just like, we're really watching this movie.
Just for context, I haven't seen the first one.
Yeah. So
And you didn't watch it in the cinema?
I didn't see it in the cinema. I have seen it, but not in the cinema. But this film takes place like directly after that piece of shit, and it starts off with Anastasia Steele, the crappiest name in all of fan fiction. It starts off with her, and she's like, "Oh, I broke up with Christian, but he's at this party, so I guess I'm not gonna break up with Christian." And then the plot really doesn't exist much from there. It's just basically these two people who had sex, and then they're like, oh, let's get into a relationship now without these rules. But the thing with this movie is that it contradicts that, because Anastasia is like, oh, no rules, but everything Christian tells her to do, she will do it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
she has an argument at one point where she's planning on going to New York with her boss, and he's like, no. So
Yeah.
they go back and forth, like, I'm not asking your permission. It's like, no, I'm not asking. No. And then in the end, it's like, he's like, I want to take you there, don't go. It's like, okay. It's like, okay, well, nothing you stand for is of meaning at all. You're just a flimsy character, and you're just be like, I'm not doing what you say, but fuck, I'm going to do what you say.
I feel really bad for Dakota Johnson, because I know she's a good actress deep inside, but this movie has nothing for her.
I don't even know the guy's name.
Jamie Dornan, he is awful. There's like a scene at the very beginning of the movie where he's having a nightmare. If you haven't heard the story, then
oh yeah, we should have mentioned full spoilers.
Oh, spoilers!
I think we should go full spoilers.
All right, full spoilers. Well, he's having a nightmare about how he was, you know, abused by his father, and he's just dreaming. And the extent of the acting is that he just goes, "No," in his sleep, and it's like, you're supposed to be having a nightmare.
Wriggles around a bit.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to be having a nightmare. It's traumatizing. Cold sweats, you know, shout, "Oh, don't do that!" But he's like, "No," and that's how the movie starts. And then the title comes up, 50 Shades Darker, on a white background, and it's like, okay, I guess it's not that dark then. But the movie, it just sucked. It was such a crappy experience to be sitting there, because it's like, you think to yourself, I could be doing something better, and even we saw it for free, and we just didn't walk out, and it's like, we could have walked out at any time. Why did we not do that?
Never walked out of a movie, but
no, I guess
I was counting down.
Policy.
It's been a long time since I've been counting down the minutes till the movie's ended. And this was one of those. Like, I thought it was 2 hours long, and when it ended 15 minutes before I thought it was going to, I was like, fucking thank you, they did something I can approve of.
The movie feels longer than it is, though, because it's boring. Like, the thing that sells this movie and the first one was the sex, the BDSM, and obviously with this one, it's like no rules, but they're still going to have sex. But what it feels like is, because the first one was about that sexual stuff, it's like this one, they have a loose plot, and then they throw in some random sex scenes every now and again that are uninteresting. They're boring. They're boring sex scenes.
Yeah.
But they throw them in because it's like, oh, this is the gimmick of 50 Shades. But it's like, we never needed that really, because you're throwing in those sex scenes in our face every sort of, maybe every 15 minutes, and it's like, there's no like need for them, because it doesn't excel the plot. With the first one, I guess, it's a trashy movie, but it did excel the plot, I guess, because that was the point of it. But this one, it's just like, why?
Yeah, in this one, in the first one, from what I can gather, it's like you get to explore his kind of weird fetishes with being in control. And in this one, they say, or she says, no more of this, basically. So it's just plain old vanilla sex, and, you know. Yeah. But it's not enjoyable to watch. Well, yeah, because it's not interesting. It's not done in an interesting way. It's basically 10 or 15 minutes of boring nothingness. Then let's bang!
That's exactly
10 or 15 minutes of boring nothingness. It's like, it breaks up the boring, but it's not anything exciting. So it's just like, the whole movie is pointlessly boring, and just, it doesn't do anything.
Well, what I hate most about this movie, and Dale's having a mental breakdown at this point. But what I hate most about this movie is not the fact there's no plot. There is no plot. But what I hate about it is the fact that they try and sell Anna Steele as this sort of independent character. I don't want no rules. But there's this one scene, and if you've seen the first one, at the very end of that film, she leaves because Christian spanks her because she's like, I want to know how far you'll go with this. And then, like, he spanks her. And it's like, okay, she's gonna leave, you know, fair enough, I would too, he's a dickbag. But in this movie, like, they get back together, you know it's gonna happen because it was all over the posters and the trailers. But they get back together, and then there's this one scene where she's like to him, I want you to spank me, and it's like, didn't you break up with him for spanking you in the first movie?
She basically ends up back right where she started.
Yeah, there's no development for her, there's no development for Christian. Don't even get me started on Christian. Oh my god, there was this one scene, and Dale knows what I'm talking about. There was this one really stupid scene, and this is the stupidest thing I've seen in cinemas for such a long time. So there's this helicopter that Christian, he's a pilot for some reason, he's a billionaire and he's also a pilot, he's the ultimate Mary Sue. People called Ray, people called Ray from Star Wars a Mary Sue. Christian Grey's the Mary Sue.
And he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
God damn.
Well, I mean, what does he even sell? What is he a billionaire for?
know.
What does he sell? Like,
He buys everything.
I don't care why he's a billionaire, but there's a scene with a helicopter and there's a crash, like a big budget crash, like, oh no, Fast and Furious style. No, it was awful. It looked awful. It was filmed awful. The editing was awful. But anyway, there's this crash and everyone's panicking and it's all over the news, like, billionaire Christian Grey's gone missing, what are we gonna do? And all the families gathered around and Anna's crying and the mother's crying. And then on the news you just hear, Christian Grey's been found 30 seconds later. And it's like, what? Why put that in the movie?
And then the best bit is then he just walks through the door like, hey, he was in a completely different state.
Hey, what up?
Like,
I'm back.
Good? They just found me on the news and I'm here.
Remember the complaints with The Dark Knight Rises when Bruce Wayne got back into Gotham?
I'm Christian Grey, bitches.
Christian Grey is like that. He just comes into the house, he's like, yeah, my helicopter's fucked, I can't just fly here, but I walked. And it's like, okay, so he's now Superman as well as a Mary Sue.
The best part for me in that scene was that there's a few scenes of, like, action, if you can call it that, in this movie.
Well, in the trailer, they weren't really in the movie.
But, like, there's no build-up. So at the beginning, it jumps into him being abused as a kid. So it's like, there's no, like, slow build-up. It's just like, hey, this movie's rated 18, and then it's like, oh shit, this kid, he's under the table, he's gonna be abused, and then it cuts away. And when he's in the helicopter, he's just flying with this woman, and then they're just like, there's maybe 2 seconds, and then something in the helicopter blows up, and she's like, Christian, what's going on?
That's the thing. They don't explain.
Christian,
right?
Sorry, I nearly choked out.
But they don't explain
all of
why
it's
the
just
helicopter
like 2 seconds of the helicopter in the air, and then it's like smash, it crashes. And it's just
pretty much
it's hilarious.
That's it. That's all that happens. And there's a subplot, a really stupid subplot with well, we talked about the rapey boss, but there's another character who was one of Christian's submissives, I guess.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I forgot her name. I don't have a
Layla
fucking clue. Layla, that's it. So yeah, she's a submissive, and she came in and she like was stalking Anna, and it was like, okay. But does this serve a purpose to the plot? No, it doesn't. She turns up in the apartment with a gun, and then Christian tames her like a dog. Like, he sort of says to her, kneel down, and she does it, and he starts stroking her head like she's, like she's a dog, and it's like...
All over.
Does this movie know what it's doing? Does it know that it's made one of its characters into an animal? Because why is that interesting to an audience? And then, yeah, the whole boss thing and the whole... thing with this woman, they didn't add anything to the plot. And then you've got Kim Basinger as like Christian's other, I guess she was the dominant at one point. I didn't read the books and it didn't really explain it in the film very well, but I guess she was his dominant and she's in the movie for no reason really. She's just sort of there also.
To be a bitch, basically.
Yeah, like all three of these characters are there because the movie had no plot, so they're like, we have to do something to make this movie at least a little interesting, but they couldn't really manage to make it interesting. But they put these three little subplots in with the romance that wasn't very interesting, and it was
romantic. There's very romantic dialogue like, don't come.
Oh,
That's
yeah. The boss
Christ.
is like trying to seduce Anna, I guess, and he just whispers, I'll make you come, like he can't. Wink, wink. And it's like, it's so bad. Every scene of dialogue. There's this one scene of like these, the silver balls.
Oh, God.
And Anna's like, don't put them in my butt. And then she like, I guess she pauses for the audience to laugh at it, but it was only laughable because that line was in the movie.
And
It's
because
like,
it came out of nowhere, it's just like, you're not putting those in my butt.
I think every single line of dialogue was cringy. I feel sorry for the actors in this movie because they had to read that, and they're signed up for one more movie, so Godspeed to them. But oh my god. I mean, the thing is, I will go and see 50 Shades Freed. Because I'm in too deep now. I've got the story.
No pun intended.
I have to, oh god. I have to finish the story now. So it's like, I have to watch the third one, because otherwise there's just an incomplete part of me. Because it's like, I hate saying that, because it's like, I need to know what's going to happen, because otherwise I'm just left hanging. Even if the movie's shit, it's like, I can't not see the third one now. So that's going to happen. I'm going to trash it again, obviously. But it's like, they know what they're doing here. They left it on a cliffhanger. It was a crap cliffhanger. And I was just happy that it ended, to be honest.
It was a shit cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I don't think we should spoil the cliffhanger.
No,
to
you
leave
guys
some sense of anonymity.
You guys can see how clever that cliffhanger was.
The best part about this movie was that before we were watching it, we were like, what trailer is it going to come on? So one of the trailers that showed was Kong Skull Island, and there's that bit in the trailer where the guy's flying the helicopter, and he's like, is that a monkey? And then we heard this woman audibly go, like she was probably in the middle of the cinema, she was just like, huh? A monkey? And then she realised it was King Kong. She was like, oh!
Maybe that explains Christian Grey's crash. Maybe King Kong did it. The monkey.
A monkey?
Maybe he took down the helicopter. But anyway, 50 Shades Darker, overall, it's boring, it's uninteresting, the romance isn't interesting, the action isn't interesting, the sex isn't interesting.
The characters aren't interesting.
The characters aren't interesting.
The writing is terrible. The action is, if you can call it action, terribly done. There's no character motivation present. At one point she's just like, I don't want to be dominated, and then like 25 minutes later she's like, oh, fucking dominate me, bitch.
That's it, that's
Make
it.
me your bitch.
Every piece of, because at first there was like, okay, I guess there's some character development here that we can at least enjoy for her. Goes out the window within the first 5 minutes. So don't go in expecting anything. I mean, if you're a fan of the books and a fan of the first film, you're gonna love this. Don't take our opinion. If you're a middle-aged single mother, then you're gonna love this thing.
Yeah, to be fair, this is probably not for us.
Yeah, it's not really our demographic. It started as a Twilight fan fiction. It feels like a Twilight fan fiction. So yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed the first movie, this is going to be your movie. You don't even have to watch this review. But if you're a sane person that enjoys movies and likes the art of cinema, stay away, because it's not worth it. So overall, I fucking hated this movie.
So did
It's the worst movie I've seen in a very long time. Probably worse than the first one.
Here's a question. Was it worse than 50 Shades of Black, which was the parody movie that released last year?
Well, I don't know, because this felt like a parody itself. So who knows? Probably not. I mean, that's like the worst experience I've ever had in a cinema. But it was a bad movie. Take my word for it. Don't watch 50 Shades Darker, but if you do, then I'm sorry. Anything to add before we wrap up?
It's terrible. It's not fun to watch. I felt ashamed after watching it.
It just felt uncomfortable.
I've seen some dog shite movies, and this was just the one that was like, how am I going to tell people? Like, how am I going to tell my friends, hey, guess what I saw? I watched 50 Shades Darker.
What did we see last year? We saw 9 Lives, Gods of Egypt,
None of
Ice
those.
Age,
I was never embarrassed to go.
Yeah,
I
was like,
saw.
They were fun to watch because we could laugh and we could have a joke.
And it's not even because it was about sex or anything. It's just because it was so horrendous.
Cringy and everything. The dialogue's cringy. But the thing is, it was with those movies they were fun. With this one, we couldn't even really audibly take the piss out of it because it was so busy in there that it was just like, I don't want to offend any of these women that are massive 50 Shades fans. So yeah, overall, don't see 50 Shades Darker. I guess there's only one way we can actually describe this movie, and that is
fucking dreadful.
It's a space station.